I referred to wives as property.
Yes, you did. Yes. You did. Yes, you said it. We've got it on camera.
Yeah.
So,
I said, property of God.
Okay.
God owns all of us only. Like God owns me. God owns. I'm property of God.
Inilah Marina Perkis, seorang komentator asal Inggris yang tertunduk malu saat siaran langsung dalam sebuah acara talk show televisi. Sebagai pembawa acara hari itu, Marina seharusnya bersikap adil dan netral dalam menengahi diskusi. Namun sayangnya, ia justru ikut menyudutkan narasumber pria Muslim, Abdullah Al-Andalusi, dengan nada sepakat. Marina dan narasumber lainnya menuding Islam bersikap tidak adil terhadap wanita dan kaum Nabi Lut. Tuduhan yang dilemparkan tanpa dasar kuat itu justru berbalik. Ketika Abdullah menjawab dengan tenang dan argumentatif, menyuguhkan fakta, sejarah kolonialisme, dan logika yang membungkam tudingan mereka.
In Qatar, people are picked up on the street, on the metro, and in shopping malls because they are perceived to be gay. Not even proven to be gay, but they are arrested on the assumption that they look or their mannerisms are of a gay nature. And they are then subjected to brutal interrogations. Human Rights Watch has reported a whole series of cases where LGBT plus people have not been arrested because of sexual acts, but because of who they are, because of their identity. On top of that, when you talk about human rights, I'm not seeking to impose Western values on Qatar or any country. I'm asking all the countries of the world to uphold the principle of universal human rights, which apply here in Britain as well as in Qatar. And as a member of the United Nations, Qatar is signed up to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which says that every person is entitled to equal treatment and protection against discrimination. But it's not doing that with regard to migrant workers, women, or LGBT.
Firstly, I'm no. One second. I'm no defender of Qatar. I'm no defender of many of the countries in the Middle East. I'm actually a very strong critic of them. I don't think they actually are fully Islamic. Actually, there's pretensions to be. But I think what you said is now. As for what the Qatar security forces do, maybe that's debatable and disputable. I'm not the defendant of Qatar. However, according to Qatari law, there is no crime for identifying as homosexual or heterosexual, whatever, because the terms are not recognized. These are Western terms introduced in the 19th century, before which, from most of human history, there was no term for someone who had a desire of any particular kind, sexually speaking. There wasn't those terms. These are anachronistic, brand new. They were actually, unfortunately, exported to the Muslim world by colonialist West activities. So they've got nothing to do with Islam. Got nothing to do with Qatar law.
I thought this discussion was about human rights.
It is.
And I think we're straying far away.
Setelah gagal menyudutkan hukum LGBT dalam Islam, kini pembicaraan beralih ke isu hak-hak wanita. Dan sekali lagi, Abdullah berhasil memberikan jawaban yang membuat lawan bicaranya terdiam.
I think that's an interesting question, but aren't we all saying, well, it sounds like we're all saying, pro-choice? We want the women to have the choice. The issue is when they don't have the choice.
In countries under Islamic law, women don't have that right to unveil. They're imprisoned. As we know in Iran, Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Kurdish woman, was recently killed because a few strands of her hair were showing. The point of the burqa is that it's a body bag on women. If men are so offended by women's hair and bodies, there are these masks that they put on donkeys so that their eyes will be covered. Men are free to wear those if they are so offended by women's hair and bodies.
I want to answer something she said was quite egregious. She said human rights, which she supports ostensibly, as she claims, a Western definition of it, is about the right to choose to dress. And yet she is the person who said a couple of years ago that she would ban the burqa, and she said that I think every secularist and women's rights defender should support a burqa and niqab ban. So clearly, she's a hypocrite when it comes to Muslims choosing what they want to wear, because she feels that Muslim women making that choice is somehow subjugating themselves, and she knows better. She can tell Muslim women what to do. They can't tell themselves what to do. So you are a hypocrite, madam.
I think, stop pointing your finger at me.
Why not?
Maryam sempat keberatan ketika dirinya ditunjuk. Namun, perhatikan, tanpa sadar, ia sendiri justru menunjuk wajah Abdullah hingga hampir berdiri dari tempat duduknya.
Men can have unilateral right to divorce. They say talaq, talaq, talaq 3 times. They're divorced. Women have very limited rights to divorce. Child custody is given to men at a preset age. Women need male guardians. So even if you don't have a husband or a father, your child, who's a boy, is your guardian. He can decide whether you can work, whether you can go out, whether you can travel, whether you can get a passport. A male guardian decides that.
But men and women have rights.
Yes, they're complementary. They're not equal
wait.
rights. Be honest.
Look
Be
who's now
honest.
speaking over and
Be
cutting
honest.
in now
No,
and
but be
shouting.
honest.
Okay,
Yeah,
honest.
so
Let's go. Let's
so
speak.
you're all up for shouting and speaking over people when it suits you.
Be honest.
Okay.
Abdullah, come on, let's
So
hear
anyway.
Meski terus ditekan, Abdullah tetap tenang dan tak terpancing emosi. Di sisi lain, sang host, Maryam Namazie, berusaha memancingnya untuk mengutuk hukum rajam dalam Islam. Namun akhirnya ia terpaksa menelan ludahnya tersipu malu karena keliru memahami penjelasan Abdullah.
Everything's up for discussion.
Okay.
But here's the thing. From the Islamic perspective, we believe that fornication, so any sex outside of marriage, is an abuse of the property of God, because the property owner does not give consent for it to be used in that sense. So in a sense,
Owner,
fornication.
that's
On insisting our standards.
Sorry, Abdullah, you were talking about, for example, we were condemning, or I was personally condemning, having 3 or 4 wives, or as you refer to them, property. Now, over here.
I referred to wives as property.
Yes, you did. Yes. You did. Yes, you said it. We've got it on camera.
Yeah.
So,
I said, property of God.
Okay.
God owns all of us only. Like God owns me. God owns. I'm property of God.